Today we're assembling the Moebius four-wheel drive Mecanum wheel robot car chassis kit aluminum robot platform, etc. It's got a very long name and it basically is a mobile platform that you can run with motor controls and robot hardware, and it comes with this really nice plate here, kind of good heavy plate. That's one of the pluses for this system. And no, it doesn't come up with any microcontrollers or any other kind of software. It doesn't even come with any instructions. So all I got was these wheels and 4 motors and 4 motor mounts, and they were all in just bags, and a bunch of screws and a hex driver here. That's all I got. Anyway, so I'm going to put this one I already put together, so I'm going to put another one together on camera. It's pretty simple. You just, there's magnets in here. Keep that in mind. You put this through here, and this has to go towards the bottom because it's off center. Otherwise it doesn't fit well. And you grab one of the little itty bitty tiny screws and you line it up. I need a robot that can help me build robots. And you line it up. And you don't drop it. There, we'll try that. And you line it up. You get your screwdriver. And there you go. There's screw number 1. You don't have to put them all in, not at least at the beginning, because you want to test the thing and make sure you got everything right. And at this point, since I haven't run it yet, because I haven't really fully assembled it, I don't know if I'm going to have everything right. So there's 2. Again, it's fairly simple to put this together. The hardest part is actually picking up the little tiny screws if you got big, meaty hands like me. And don't tighten them down too much because you could be a little bit off, and if you're a little bit off, they won't go in. I guess I'm lucky here. I got 3 in without crying. And I'm going to put that 4th one in. I mean, technically, you could probably just, unless you're putting a lot of weight on it, you could probably just put 2 in, catty corner. Or as my daughter likes to say, kitty corner. And I think this screwdriver is magnetized. Let's try it that way. That might just be work better. There we go. And like I said, don't make it too tight, because when you need a little bit of wiggle room, it doesn't wiggle. There you go. Now this thing doesn't come in with any software, with any electronics. Just what you see here in that panel I showed you a minute ago. That's all it comes with. Okay, that's 2 down. I'll put these over here. Actually, for this demo, I'm just going to put in 2 screws from here on out. But of course you should put in all the screws they give you. especially if you're going to put this under a load. And I tend to put it under a heavy load. This says it has a maximum of 20 kilograms of weight, and that's a good deal of weight. Enough to carry a small person, and since I do human-sized robots, this is what I bought this thing for. We're just going to put 2 in this one for now. We'll put the rest in later. That's 3 down, 1 to go. These wires do come off easily, so if they're getting in the way, you can just pull them off. You can just pull them off. There you go. Don't bend the pins. You'll need those later, otherwise you'll be soldering things, and soldering's not what you want to do if you don't have to. Although some people do like soldering, but me, I don't know, I just tend to burn my fingers. Although it doesn't come with any extra screws, it does have enough screws to get everything done. So do be careful and don't strip anything out. Okay. Now since this is the wrong size screwdriver, that won't work. I'm going to get a bigger screwdriver and try to tighten these down a little bit tighter. One, two. 3, 4, 5, and then this one. Now next we're going to mount these on the chassis. That's pretty straightforward, but you got to know which holes. This thing has a whole bunch of holes on here. You can put all sorts of things on it. According to the picture, it looks like it probably goes on, well, according to the picture, they want to put it on these holes here, but I want it to be a little bit wider, so I'm going to put it on the outer holes. Now these are Mecanum wheels, and these are real special if you didn't know about Mecanum wheels. Mecanum wheels will allow your robot to go sideways without turning. It's because of these little, it's a wheel with a bunch of wheels on it. And when you apply the right, turn on the right motors at the right time, then you get movement sideways, which is really an interesting thing to watch if you've never seen it before. Okay, so we're going to do it, let's see, top down or bottom up. I think we'll try the bottom up because it's going to be, see, yeah, so we're going to grab our brackets without the motors and put them onto the chassis. Now you've only got 2 types of screws here. You've got these very little tiny ones that have a Phillips head on top, and you have these other hex head screws. The third type you see here, these are a different type of screws. I took these out. These were actually in the hub here, and you'll see why in a minute. So you take the hex head screws, 4 of them, and you just throw them in the holes like this. We're just going to start with one, turn it upside down, put one of the nuts on it, and we're going to tighten that up. I'm not let's just leave it hand tight because we got to be able to wiggle it a little bit. Okay. Number 2. I need bigger screws or smaller fingers. Number 3. Pop 3 and 4 in here. And I keep my fingers on the other side so they don't fall out. Because that's what would happen if you turned it upside down and you weren't watching. And there you go, there's the first one. I'm going to put them all 4 of them on, and then I'll tighten them up. And again, I'm holding with my fingers. You may or may not be able to hold them with your fingers. That is one advantage of having big fat fingers. Sure, a few of you people have fatter fingers than I do, so keep that in mind. Like I said before, I'd like to have a robot that can help me build robots someday. And they're all hand tight. Make sure they're all hand tight so they don't fall out. And we get the third one. Now watch out, these do have magnets, and your nuts and bolts will stick to them because steel is magnetic. I used to date a girl who did this for a living. A long time ago, she would assemble electronic components in mechanical sub-assemblies. She'd come into work dressed in a business suit. It's pretty amazing what you do when you have to do it. Okay, we're working on the last one here. Oh, look, I got 2. I must have had an extra one somewhere. And the last one, right in the middle there. Well, right in the middle of the holes anyway. Right in place. Hold them tight. Turn it upside down and start putting your nuts on. Or not. There's 2. There's 3. I dropped 1. Well, it looks like they might have a couple of extra nuts and bolts in the kit. I thought there was going to be just enough. So my this is going to be a platform for one of my humanoid robots, probably for Betty 9, if I can make it work. Obviously, this is not going to be wide enough for Betty 9. Probably going to have to buy a plate probably twice this size. All right, now we're going to tighten them up. I have a nut driver. Let me see if it fits. Oh, lo and behold, my nut driver fits. This is not included in the kit. This is one I got from another kit. So let's start tightening these things up. Yes, all 16 of them. And they don't have to be, I'm doing that outside the camera. They don't have to be really tight. Not at this point. Eventually, when you're all finished and you like what you've got and everything's working, you go back over and you tighten them up so they're very tight. And the last one. And the last one. There we go. So there you go. I got your motor mounts on there. Next comes the motors themselves. You can see the motor shaft is off center, so that goes closest to the chassis like that. Or does it? Let's take this out before we commit. Well, we want this, I want this thing far off the ground. So we can put it like this, and that would be like, a ½ inch off the ground. We can put it like that. We put it on the bottom. It's a little bit more clearance then. Yeah, I think we're gonna go that direction. The directions show this direction. Okay, good. Directions. It's not a direction, it's a photograph I'm looking at from the web, from Amazon itself. Okay, so let's line that up. Get the screws in. Again, I'm only going to put in 2 on the camera. I'll put the rest on off camera. Sounds like an email to me. Come on. We start out like that. That one just landed on the floor. Just stuff that wire back in there. Now this has many connectors here, and there's a inside there's a emitter and detector to count the revolutions. I'm not using that. I'm not going to be using that unless I have to. So we're not going to hook up these 4 wires, only the plus and minus. So they're the only ones that I'm worried about at this point. That goes a whole lot easier. It's a good thing this video is not in 3D, or that my hand would be in your face. What happened to all those cool 3D movies where everything like is in your face? Like the Minion movie. Movies where everything like is in your face. Like the Minion movie. The robots, huh? And again, you should put all the screws in. I'm only putting in 2 screws for now for the video. I'll put the rest of the screws in off camera. And now I'm going to go back through and tighten up the screws. I don't know if you heard that scream. That's my nieces. They're in the other room. They're 3 years old and 4-year-old. 4 years old, and they scream a lot. Okay, I think I've got all of them tightened. And the last step, like I said, this is pretty straightforward. The last step of the assembly of this base is getting the wheels on. Now, that sounds pretty easy, and it looks pretty easy because you've got this one screw that tightens down the wheel. You notice the wheels have, on the wheel shaft, the motor shaft, it has a flat part. Well, that's where your screw comes down and holds it on. Now, there's a problem here. If you take your hex key and you try to tighten it down, on some of the wheels, it just doesn't fit. That one fit. Yay. And you can't turn it sideways. You can only turn it from the top. I have another hex key. Let's see, where is it? Let's see. I've got one of these sets, Harbor Freight. Very cheap and very useful. Get the metric and the SAE. Okay, so there we go. It's on there. In turn, we're good. We got one. The next one. It's got one of the nuts inside of there. I get that puppy out. There we go. Again, for each of these motors, you got to line it up. I'm going to turn the shaft so I can see the flat part. You got to line up so the screw goes onto the flat part of the shaft. Now this one's way off. It's kind of hard to screw in because I'm at an angle. If you really wanted to do this right, you would pull the wheel off. You'd remove these screws here, these bolts from the other side, and pull the wheel off and do it right. I'll do that off camera. Oh, maybe I'll do one on camera. Okay, that's attached, but I wouldn't trust it. No, it's not attached. All right. Yeah, that's not attached. That didn't go as low as it should have gone. I'm going to put it in by hand till I get it to about the right height. Where it's just peeking through the hole. There we go. It's just peeking through the hole. I'm going to put it on the shaft and tighten it up from there. Now that's on. Now you can see these wheels. I made mention it in my review before on Amazon that they look worn. And these hubs, not this side of the hub, but the other side of the hub. If you look closely there, you can see that it's kind of scratched up there. And not just here, but all over. And it's not just like it looks worn. It looks like these were used before. I don't know for sure. Maybe that's manufacturing, but I've never seen a new hub come out looking like that with scratches on it. Still, if it works, it works. And I'm not going to complain too much because at $180, including shipping, this thing's a bargain. And otherwise, I wouldn't have even thought of using something like this. Because these were running $400 to $1,000, and I just didn't want to put that much money into the base of a robot. Okay, and we tighten it up. Like I said, these are really worth their weight in gold. And we get the last one in. Again, I'm going to bring that down until it's just coming through the hole. And we're going to pop it on the shaft. Probably a little too tight. There we go. And tighten it up. Now we're going to test all four wheels, make sure they're running. Now these are 12-volt wheels, so you need 12 volts to power them. And that'll be the next video, powering this sucker. Okay, bye-bye for now.